Under our leadership, the Republican Party has become the proud voice of hardworking American citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. We've become the party of the American dream.
Yes, the party of the American dream. Not the Democrats so much, but, they are the Sinaloa dream. I'll give them that. They're the Medellin dream. Sure. They're the Wuhan dream, but not so much the American dream. And when I say dream, it might be more of a nightmare. It could be a nightmare is a type of dream. So it's just that the word dream as a standalone has a connotation that nightmare does not. Kind of like the word Democrat has a connotation. Well, you get what I'm driving at there. Well, good Tuesday to you and welcome back. The Politico left-wing newspaper in Washington, D.C. really spun up over there. Trump's DOJ already feels like a wholesale politically inspired demolition. It's a wholesale politically inspired demolition. It was a wholesale politically inspired jihad under the Biden administration. And even before that, while Donald Trump was in and the Department of Justice was trying to get the political enemies of the Democrat Party doing a heck of a job, too. Grandmothers praying at abortion clinics, grandmothers walking through the Capitol. But never mind that. And never mind the guy with the pipe bombs at the DNC headquarters and the RNC headquarters the day before January 6th, the Democrats' favorite date. Aren't they something? Also at Politico, day before yesterday, the headline is, I am terrified, colon. They love their colons. I am terrified is in quotation marks. Workers, they call them workers at the Department of Justice. They're lawyers and law enforcement. But the Democrats call them workers because they've adopted the lexicon of the USSR, of the Bolsheviks, the Soviet Union. I am terrified. Workers describe the dark mood inside federal agencies. I would love to leave, but I don't know where I'd go, said one staffer. Of course, you're a government screw. There is no place for you in the real world. You're just a government, you know the rest. I don't have to explain it. And very, very upset, the people at Politico, about what's going on in Washington, because for just a minute now, the bureaucracy isn't growing. It's in the pool. It's shrinking a little bit. Isn't that amazing? So Trump imposes federal government hiring freeze, orders workers back to office. That's very upsetting to them. Wait, I got to go to work? What? I can't go to work. I'm a work-from-home guy. In fact, I'm a work-from-home woman, even though I'm a guy. Speaking of which, you saw that President Trump, he's got a new executive order, and the new executive order is if you're transgender, that is, if you're a man who says you're a woman, that you are no longer a member of the United States military. You're no longer a happy member of the U.S. military. You can't be a Marine who's transgender. You can't be a member of Army's Delta Force if you have gender dysphoria and you're very confused. But the Democrats, they will fight to the death to keep transgender. Honestly, it's like, what was I thinking this morning? I was getting ready this morning and thinking about all this stuff, and I started singing from Mel Brooks. I was doing a little Mel Brooks song, and what is it, the end of Blazing Saddles, where they got, who is it, Dom DeLuise yelling, "Get 'em, girls!" Get 'em, girls, and all the dancers with nightsticks and top hats attack the cowboys, screaming "Sss," and stuff. Get 'em, girls. And that's the Democrats' plan for the U.S. military. They've turned it into a Mel Brooks movie because they're not on our side. They don't want us to have an effective fighting force. That's why they oppose Pete Hegseth, because they think that he might have a transgender-free fighting force.
Buddy! Come on, girls!
Come on, girls. See, Michael Piercy just went and found it in that amount of time. He's like, oh, I know that soundbite. And Michael went and retrieved the Mel Brooks from the closing scenes of Blazing Saddles, where the dancing guys in cutaway suits and top hats with walking sticks had to attack the cowboys. Ready, girls. Come on, girls. And that's the Democrats' plan. And if you say, well, I'm not for transgenderism in the U.S. military, they attack you and they call you names, vicious, nasty names. You're a bigot, all that stuff. And then they exterminate 40% of the black population this year again because while chanting from the river to the sea, let's wipe Israel off the map. The Democrat Party, not what it used to be. Not what it used to be at all. We've got all kinds of Democrat craziness for you today because it's another day of the week. And they just keep on shoveling this stuff. Really amazing stuff. So Donald Trump signs executive orders focused on military. NBC fake news, and they're very upset. President Trump signs executive order banning transgender people from U.S. military service. Have you noticed it's pretty much never a woman who's pretending to be a man. It's always, and it was my friend Seaton this morning sent me a funny meme. It's a meme of 3 members of Joe Biden's military, senior officers in Joe Biden's military, and they're men dressed as women. One of them in an Air Force uniform or a Space Force uniform. One of them, I don't even know what these are. But they're men, and they're clearly and obviously men, kind of pudgy, portly, middle-aged, wide through the middle, got big chins and heavy beards. And yet they say, you know, I'm a woman and I'm in the U.S. military. No, you're not, and no, you're not. Isn't that amazing? President Trump also did something else crazy. He, and it's not crazy at all, it's what should be done. He said that all of the members of the military that were forced out of the United States military because they declined to take the developmental vaccine for COVID-19 out of Wuhan, China, in communist China, where the communist Chinese were engaging in gain-of-function research on bat-based viruses in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And a number of our fighting men, and I assume some women, declined to take that vaccine. And Joe Biden, being the communist that he is, anti-military, anti-civilization, he forced them all out of the military. And now President Trump says, not only are you going to be welcome back in the military now if you choose to come back, but you will have your rank restored and you will have back pay. Back pay. You'll get back pay, which is pretty great stuff. And that's because we're building a military into a military, which is a fighting force. The role of the U.S. military, when called upon to do so, is to kill people and break stuff. You know, blow stuff up and do all kinds of bad things to physical structures, because that's the role of the military. That's what they do. Their job is not to be a social experiment for the global left, for the Davos leftists, but that's the way the Democrat Party views it, because they've got a lot of mental issues. Boy, do they have a lot of mental issues. In fact, what did we have yesterday? We had more mental issues because a couple of days ago we were talking about how Maryland Democrat Congressman Jamie Raskin hosted a Democrat gathering for Democrat members of Congress on his congressional committee, his House committee. And they brought in psychologists to sit down with the Democrat members of Congress, right? Because they need help. And he acknowledged that they need help. They're not getting the help they need. They've been screaming for years that there's a mental health crisis in the United States of America. For the most part, conservatives, we just scratched our heads and said, well, I'm not sure what mental health crisis they're talking about. Now I think we pretty much know, and it's them. That's why they knew ahead of everybody else, because these people, can I just say, these people, and now we've got more mental help and more psychiatric help for Democrats. They're crying for help because they're really not well. They've got the gender issues and they've got a lot of issues, but more mental health issues for the Democrat Party because they've got a lot of issues. Boy, do they have a lot of them. And I've got that for you. Did it on my television show last night on the Newsmax channel at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Chris Plant and the Right Squad. Boy, I'm telling you. So we've got a lot of normal happening, and it reminds me of the T-shirts and coffee mugs we have at the Chris Plant store on Al Gore's Amazing Internet that simply say, remember normal, because the Democrats, they have dutifully forgotten normal. They've moved on from normal. They're in another place now, another place altogether. Wah, wah, wah. But President Trump, of all people, he's in here just kind of tapping, hey, normal. Anybody remember two genders, science, genealogy, biology? I know you're not all biologists like Ketanji, KJB, and just amazing. These people are not the brightest people in the world. They go to all the best schools, and they come out idiots. It's kind of an amazing thing to see. Wah, wah, wah. Yes, sir. And it's, have you seen this thing that Gen Zers, members of the Generation Z, Gen Z, a whole bunch of them think they're under the impression that they don't have to pay taxes. Did you see this study? And a lot of them, they're students. A lot of them are students. They're saying, well, I'm a student. I don't have to pay taxes. I don't pay income taxes. I'm exempt. I'm exempt from that. Isn't that wonderful? And it turns out that's not true because, you got to pay taxes. There are only two certainties in life in the United States of America. Amazing stuff. Yeah, and honestly, I think we should be maybe worried, concerned about another Jonestown. The Jonestown mass suicide, more than 900 leftist socialists from the San Francisco Bay Area in California went to Guyana in South America, where they all drank the store-brand Kool-Aid, not the Kool-Aid brand Kool-Aid, filled with poison, and they all died. It was a mass suicide or a mass murder or a combination thereof. And I'm a little, I'm starting to think, maybe we should be concerned about that sort of thing happening again, because I got to say, are the libs okay? 1 week into President Trump's second term, and honestly, and I started this article with you yesterday, Salon Magazine, Surviving Political Grief. Surviving Political Grief is the headline in Salon Magazine, perfectly mainstream Democrat publication, right? And in the article, they say that a lot of liberals across the country fear life-altering harm from Donald Trump's policies, like securing the border and having cheap gasoline. Could be life-altering harm for them. And in Salon Magazine, they say that millions of Kamala voters are seeking therapy and calling crisis hotlines. They're calling crisis hotlines and seeking therapy because Trump won the election. Now, I've got to say, if that's true, you should never be allowed to vote again. You shouldn't, and you should not be allowed to work for the government anywhere because you're obviously mentally tortured, mentally ill. There's something horribly wrong with you. But that's a fact. Salon Magazine, Surviving Political Grief, and apparently millions of Kamala voters, and a whole lot of them are seeking therapy. So it's a good time for therapists because the Democrat Party is mentally ill, and there are too many of them, and they're calling crisis hotlines. We should open a crisis hotline, right? And in fact, let me do that now. If you're a liberal and you're having a crisis, call 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-9625. I'm your counselor, and I'm here to help. I know you need help, and I am here for you. Just amazing stuff. Beware the Reverend Jim Jones, because he might make a comeback just for you guys. Yeah, seeking therapy and calling crisis hotlines to cope with life under Trump. You shouldn't be allowed to drive cars. You shouldn't be allowed to fly on airplanes. You should probably be banned from civilized society. Amazing stuff. Wah, wah, wah. And they're very upset that Trump signed an executive order banning transgender people from the U.S. military. It's, who is that? Josh Lekach, I think, on Twitter. So, well, there goes our kamikaze. There goes our kamikaze units. We had, come on, the transgender kamikaze units, but we're going to lose them now. Amazing stuff. Wah, wah, wah. And New York Magazine apparently cropped black people out of photographs of a Trump party because they're propagandists like the Nazis, like Joseph Goebbels. And I think, in the New York Magazine editing booth, they all did the Hitler salute, like Elon Musk when he waved to the crowd. It's obviously Hitler. There are pictures all over the internet now of Barack Obama waving to the crowd. And he looks just like Hitler. He's got a funny little mustache, too. Nobody knows how it got there. Kind of strange. Yes, sir. So they're cropping the black people out of the photos because they're propagandists, left-wing, radical extremist propagandists. And now lefties are going to have to stop using Google Maps because Google and the navigation, because Google's going to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And that means liberals have to stop using it. You know what that means? They're going to be even more lost than they are now. I don't know how they can get more lost, but I guess stop using navigational systems might be one way. Womp, womp, womp. I got Selena Gomez. She's very upset, but very confused at the same time. And again, our helpline for Democrats who are fearing life-altering harm from the Trump administration. 888-630-9625.
Did I hear you correctly say that perhaps he was influenced by Gurgle?
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. That's right, and our lines are open now, 888-630-9625, 9625. And if you're a liberal seeking help, we have opened a helpline, and the helpline is 888-630-9625. Thank you. And let's go to the telephones. It's the same number, but much slower because, Jonestown and all that stuff. All right, let's go to what? Let's go to Angela calling from Montclair, Virginia. Angela, you're on the Chris Plant Show at long last.
Good morning, Chris. Happy New Year, because I know I haven't spoken to you this year.
Welcome.
So I want you... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just said welcome. Go right ahead.
Okay. So I want you to make a New Year's resolution. If I'm not mistaken, I think you say you don't make New Year's resolutions.
That's true.
But I want you to stop saying African American. You can say black, just like you say white. You don't say European American whenever you're talking about white people in this country. So you shouldn't say African American whenever you're talking about black people in this country. My family more than likely have been here longer than your family, I believe. I've gone back. I was able to go back as far as 1812 for my family. So I don't know when your family arrived, but I know my family has been here since 1812 on my grandfather's side.
Well, that's pretty good. Yeah. So I should stop saying that. I should start saying black and not African American. But then it's harder when you're talking about Barack Obama. He's African American, right?
Barack Obama is mixed.
That's right. He's mixed up, too. All right, Democrats, I know because I read in a liberal magazine, there are a great many of those. Surviving political grief is the headline in Salon magazine that Democrats fear life-altering harm from Trump's policies because they're all transgender and wanted to join the military. So they could attack. Who do they want to attack? I don't know. A submarine, I think. They want to attack submarine. Pretty amazing stuff. It is. I'm not concerned so much. I'm just keeping my eyes peeled for the next Jonestown from the Democrat Party. How many? At least 7 Democrats have self-immolated in the last couple of years because of political issues that they're having. And according to Salon magazine, there are millions of Kamala Harris voters that are seeking therapy and calling crisis hotlines. And we are officially open now as a crisis hotline for liberals. Again, for conservatives, the number is 888-630-9625. For liberals, it's the same number, but real slow. That's all I got for you, because I don't really have time to waste on your brain-damaged thing. You crazy people seeking therapy, life-altering harm from Trump, and calling crisis hotlines because you guys are very, very unwell, aren't we? Very, very just crazy. Okay, and the border. It turns out there's a lot going on at the border because we're securing our border. The numbers of people crossing our border illegally dropped through the floor immediately. The moment Trump took the oath of office, went from gigantic number every day to minuscule number every day because, we just announced that we're going to enforce the law, and the Democrat Party is the party of lawlessness and anarchy, and the party of Venezuelan gangs and the Sinaloa cartel. They're the party of people hanging upside down under bridges because that's where the cartels left them. They want more child sex trafficking, more fentanyl trafficking, more fatal drug overdoses. I know this because that's what their policies lead to in every single instance. And I'm not going to, say that they're so stupid that they don't know the difference. I think they're smart enough to know the difference, and that is why, because I give them credit for being smarter than many people do. That's how I know that they want more of these bad things. Just great stuff. You see this on MSDNC yesterday. The anchor person jumped in to say, we call them undocumented. We don't call them illegal aliens. We call them undocumented. Yeah, sure. Yeah. These people are not well at all. And Tom Homan, in charge of border security, responding to Selena Gomez, who's having some issues of her own. She should probably call in to the hotline, 888-630-9625. Also, we got a call earlier today from a great listener asking, because he's concerned about Mike the Lib, because we haven't heard from Mike the Lib since before the election, and we don't want, any harm to come to Mike the Lib. We want Mike the Lib to be fine and well, and we think because we want him to be well, it might be time for a group wellness check on Mike the Lib. And if anybody knows where Mike the Lib is, and if he's okay, we just want to know that Mike the Lib is okay, because we haven't heard from Mike the Lib in a while, and we're concerned. It's time for a welfare check. If the police or maybe the DNC could go by his townhome or wherever he lives and just knock on the door, make sure that Mike the Lib is okay. And if Mike the Lib is out there, Mike the Lib, we want to hear. We haven't heard from you in a while. And we hope that you're not seeking therapy or calling crisis hotlines just because Trump was elected. I know you were campaigning hard for Kamala, who hates America and people. And you lost. But, you win some, you lose some. Look, the Nazis rose in the 20th century. The Soviet Union rose. The Chinese Maoists, they rose. Pol Pot was able to kill millions before he was snuffed out. So, there's always hope for the left. They always see it that way. Hey, can we still kill millions? Oh, I think you can. You can loose the Wuhan Red Death on the planet. They chalked up, I think, 7 million to 8 million dead from the Wuhan Red Death, including more than 1 million in the United States of America for the Wuhan Red Death, right? Then you got your Planned Parenthood and all that, million a year there. Cha-ching, cha-ching, Can you say cha-ching, cha-ching, or have the Democrats banned that yet?
I'm a Russian intelligence officer, and I want you to betray your country.
Oh, there's Mike the Lib. He didn't call in, though. That's we just have a little Mike the Lib on tape. All right, we have a great deal to get to, but I want to get to wonderful listeners and callers, too. We started with Angela this morning, the wonderful Angela, who's been a friend of the show since we started in the radio business. How long ago was that? About 19 years ago. That's about how long ago. All right, let's go back to the telephones because everybody, all the normal people out there are fun, normal people. Let's go to James calling from Huntsville, Alabama. James, you're on the Chris Plank Show.
Hey, Chris. I thought that the military folks who've been ousted, they could go up to Canada and become a lumberjack.
The transgender people that are...
Yeah, they could go to that. According to Monty Python, they could become a lumberjack.
If they have to leave the military as transgender people, they could become lumberjacks. Yes. You're 100% right about that. In fact, Michael Piercy, sitting across from me in the studio, is making faces at me right now, and I think I know why. James knows his Monty Python, and he knows his Democrat Party, and he knows that there's little daylight between the two. All these things that they, like in Monty Python, what was it, Life of Brian, where the guy said he wanted to be called Loretta from now on because he's a woman and he wants to have a baby. But since James is talking about the lumberjacks and the U.S. military, the Democrats, they want to have a transgender military. And Monty Python, they were visionaries. Long before their time, they knew what the left was going to visit upon us. Suspendees at a bra. Say, I'm a sergeant major and I'm okay. That's what you had in mind, James. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Of course, it takes Monty Python is one of those dying cultural references that we really have to keep alive.
Well, you're absolutely right. And look, we've been trying to point this out for years now because these are, Monty Python, brilliant British comedy humor over the course of decades, and they mocked things that the Democrats have now normalized, at least in their world. And, James, since you brought it up, you may recall that they also foresaw they had the cross-dressers. The British have always had a lot of cross-dressers, especially in the British Navy with all the buggery going on there and everything, as Winston Churchill pointed out. But so a lot of cross-dressing in Great Britain. They're English people. That's why a lot of people fled Great Britain and came to America. So, they could be manly men and really cut down trees without dressing up in suspendees and bras. But also, Monty Python, they foresaw women having babies. Excuse me, men having babies. Of course, women have babies, but Monty Python, they foresaw the day when Democrats would declare that men, have wombs and can have babies.
Why are you always on about women, Stan? I want to be one. What? I want to be a woman. From now on, I want you all to call me Loretta.
Loretta?
What? It's my right as a man.
Well, why do you want to be Loretta, Stan?
I want to have babies.
You want to have babies?
It's every man's right to have babies if he wants them.
But you can't have babies.
Don't you oppress me.
I'm not oppressing you, Stan. You haven't got a womb. Where's the fetus going to gestate? You're going to keep it in a box?
Where's the baby going to gestate? You're going to keep it in a box? And look, this was satire, and now it is the mainstream of the Democrat Party, James. These are the main planks in their platform right now. Their military is filled with Loretta and lumberjacks.
That is so funny, but sad also.
But sad
Thank
also.
You, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, James. Thanks. Wonderful. Have a great Huntsville, Alabama day. I bet people are normal there. What do you think? I bet that you go downtown Huntsville, you think there are a lot of transgender military people wandering around saying, call me Loretta. I want to, because they're amazing. But again, Salon Magazine declaring that liberals they fear life-altering harm from Trump, and they're seeking therapy and calling crisis hotlines all across America because of their unwellness. These people. And the great thing is that James knows it, and there are a great many millions of Americans out there who recognize that the Democrat Party has become a satire, not a shadow of its former self, a satire of its former self. You make a mockery of yourselves and of civilization itself, not just Western civilization, all civilization. You guys are amazing. There is a left-wing media outfit called The Nation. And The Nation, they're not very smart people. They're leftists. So naturally they're dumb and they're ill-informed, and so much of what they know is wrong, as Ronald Reagan reminded us long ago. They've got an article there, the headline in The Nation, Joe Biden's indictment. Joe Biden's indictment. And it's a piece written by Jeet Heer. Jeet Heer. Jeet, last name Heer. Parents really loved E's. They love it's their favorite vowel. Remarkable stuff. And there's kind of kind of an interesting detail in here that my friend Scott pointed out from Texas. They've got the article is all about billionaire Scott Bessent, who is incoming cabinet secretary for the Trump administration. But the amazing thing is that through the entire length of the article, they misspell Scott Bessent's name. His name is mentioned 4 times, and it's misspelled 4 times in the article. And Scott Hoganson, my buddy, writer and thinker in Texas, sent it along this morning. He said, hey, you notice anything peculiar about this article in The Nation? They're attacking Scott Bessent, and they spell it Besson, B-S-S-E-N, and they leave off the T 4 times. They mention him 4 times, and they misspell his name all 4 times. This is award-winning journalism from the left at The Nation because they have very low IQs, low IQ theater. Remarkable, remarkable people. They should all just find something else to do under a bridge, probably. Boy, oh boy. But there is good news because one of the headlines today is border agents report all-time low crossings on Monday. That's yesterday. Today is Tuesday for Democrats following along because, days of the week can be complicated. But the people at the Fox News Channel down at the border covering it, unlike ABC, NBC, CBS, and CNN and MSDNC, but Trump's border crackdown showing results. The average illegal alien crossings in Biden's final days, 1,200 to 1,400 per day. But today is the 28th, day before yesterday of January for Democrats following on. Hey, where's Mike the Lib? Mike the Lib, are you okay? Come out and play, Mike the Lib. But day before yesterday, 582 illegal crossings, not 1,400. So slashing the numbers just by declaring you're going to do something about it. Isn't that amazing? President Trump also taking on birthright citizenship, and they're yelling and screaming, it's in the Constitution. Not really, not quite, no. I heard the great one, Mark Levin, explaining the 14th Amendment and the intention. The Republicans had just taken the Democrat slaves away and ended the Civil War, right? And the Democrats were very angry about that because they really loved slavery for the same reasons that they now really love illegal aliens flowing into the country, really cheap labor. And this is almost better for them than slavery because, they don't have to house the illegal aliens or feed the illegal aliens. They just pay them a subpar wage and then scream at them and learn some, resort Spanish. Dos cervezas, por favor. Like that. Muy frija, por favor. That's 2 beers, very cold, very cold. And then dos toallas. That's 2 towels. Remy, 2 towels. Dos toallas, por favor. But President Trump is taking on birthright citizenship, which is not guaranteed in the Constitution, and the intent of the 14th Amendment had nothing to do with birthright citizenship. It had to do with freed slaves, freed from the Democrats, because, they had to fight the Civil War to have their slaves taken away. They started the Civil War, the first Civil War, as it's now known. And, of course, the sanctuary jurisdictions, all run by Democrats who love their slave labor. Sanctuary jurisdictions and their misguided and obstructionist policies hinder the ability of federal law enforcement officers to effectuate safe arrests. This is Congressman Chairman James Comer in a statement, and remove dangerous criminals from American communities. Democrats want more dangerous criminals in American communities, especially non-English speaking gang members, child sex traffickers, and drug traffickers. Democrats want more. Making Americans less safe, James Comer says. Congress must determine whether further legislation is necessary to enhance border security and public safety. Let me tell you right now, James Comer, more legislation is needed to put the Democrats back in the post-Civil War box that they had to be put in once before. They're not on the side of good people. They're on the side of child sex traffickers, drug traffickers, cartels, gangs. You know, the Democrats, their problem is not our guns, it's your sons. I got a lot on President Trump's cabinet coming up today as well. And we are at 888-630-9625.
I am scared as heck.
Have you seen this guy, Hannibal Ware? The Democrats have a guy named Hannibal in the machine going after Trump. Everybody thinks Hannibal the cannibal, you know, not the Carthaginian leader from before Christ. But we'll see if we can get to Hannibal the cannibal. Hannibal Ware. He's out to get Trump, and he's very upset. He thinks Trump can't fire him just because Trump's the president of the United States and he's a cog in the bureaucracy. It's the end of democracy, says Hannibal. If he gets fired, that's the end of it's a threat to democracy. All right, let's go back to the telephones. Let's go to Kathy calling from Vienna, Virginia. Oh, Kathy, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Kathy.
So I've been talking to a lot of my conservative friends, and they've been telling me they think this is the greatest week in American history. Mm-hmm. And I have a little quibble with that. I tell them, no, I think this is the greatest week in American history so far.
I love that. You know, that proves you're a conservative because you just gush optimism, right? And the best is yet to come. And it's not, you know,
it certainly is.
And the Democrats are the opposite of that. Their mindset, the whole thing. Now they're calling crisis hotlines, and they think that President Trump being elected is going to lead to irreparable harm in their lives because they were all planning on becoming transgender sailors in the United States Navy and putting on a show on the deck of an aircraft carrier. One singular sensation. You know, they love musicals.